Thanks for being there this Monday morning. We'll talk about university employees' value proposition. I want to look at what that is. And like the patronage of goods and services, students are of the view that when they pay for their education, they should get value for money by the services provided by the universities. We'll take a look at this morning, and to help us do that, we have a guest. He joins us every now and then when it comes to issues of education, and he has a lot to discuss, to tell us this morning here on the XYZ Breakfast Show. Thanks for joining us this Monday morning. So our guest is Ni Ama Adi, and we definitely will learn a lot. Good morning to you, Ni Ama. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Mr. Van der Palen. Thank you for having me.
Now, this one is on university education, and we talk about university employees' value proposition. Certainly, what value our employees in the universities, especially the lecturers, have. But let's take a look at what this really is when we say a university employee value proposition.
Good morning to your cherished listeners, and I wish them a fruitful week. University employees value proposition is a new term, if you like, I put together in my management analysis of university education. Usually it's a term that is used in the corporate world, employee value proposition, which presupposes that employees are able to give their best when management are able to put premium to the services that employees offer. And looking at marketization and privatization of university education, which we have imported into our university system in Ghana here, you would realize that the focus or the perception of a university employee is one of a conservative, so that in time past they say that, oh, professors retire from the workforce, they don't even have furniture, and some professors wear just one shirt all through their period. So in looking at the management of university in view of marketization and privatization, I'm raising the argument that if we have allowed marketization and privatization to enter into our university system, which otherwise is a thing of the corporate world, then we should be able to look at the things that goes with effective marketization and privatization of university. And in that matter, it's the university employees, because the students are the end result of what the employees gives to them, and they get the best if the employees give their best, and employees will give their best if management of our universities are able to put that value, that premium on their employees.
We see marketization, which you mentioned, and privatization in a lot of the corporate world. It tells us that was seen to be something of a great feature on that side, more than the educational system. Why wasn't that part of the education system right from the start?
The concept of privatization and marketization emanated from American universities, and if you look at the setup of American universities, and it's instructive to say that during the earlier celebrations of Harvard University, one of their presidents asked the question whether private universities will be able to stand the test of time and be relevant, because he was making a comparison to the public universities. Let's not forget that university education is a public good, where public good means that it goes to benefit the public, because that is where the human resource development is built at that level, at the university level, so that the onset or the emanation of private investees, if you like, if you look at schools like Oxford and Cambridge in Great Britain, were fully funded by the state. And when America came in many years later with its Ivy League universities, Harvard, etc., they went private. And they saw it as a corporate entity, so that the investees in America, that's the private investees in America, are run like a multinational organization. And one of the key things they look out for in appointing a vice chancellor or a president, if you like, is his ability to raise a lot of money for the investee. Because for them, the investee is seen as a multinational organization. So that they were comparing the investees in Great Britain, if you like, Oxford, Cambridge, which was sponsored by the state, to the ones in America, the private, which ought to fend for themselves. Therefore, they brought in the concept of marketization and privatization. But we here, if you like, in Africa or developing countries, or even in countries where privatization and marketization of higher education, that is university education, have gotten into, they have not been able to follow the exact steps that America has followed, which has made their private investees number one. So in my analysis, in my management analysis, I was trying to look at how these successful investees have made it. So that if you go to America today, the first choice of investee is the Ivy League investees. And the Ivy League investees are private. Whilst if you come to developing countries, a country like Ghana, or even if you go to Great Britain, the first choice for investees are the public investees, which are the ones run by the state. Okay, so we're saying that if we have allowed the concept of marketization and privatization, why can't we follow the things that makes privatization and marketization of university education very successful? And that is where I brought in the concept of how the university employee value proposition would help the investees to achieve what they ought to achieve. But be that as it may, you see that, again, speaking contextually, that's in our environment, you will see that gradually government is moving its shoulder off the funding of public university education, so that you have a high number and a growing number of students who are now fee paying even in the public universities. The private universities are all full paying, except the few that gives some scholarship, which is negligible. So gradually, both public and private universities in our system here, and even in Great Britain, are all turning to be fee paying. And the monies that are required to fund the university education keeps increasing. And therefore, there is also the argument of whether the student becomes a customer, but that will be a discussion that I think we can consider in later discussion. But again, when the students have paid so much money for his education, which is supposed to be a public good, then the student demands certain things from the investee. That is the reason why the investee authorities have to heighten their employee value proposition so as for the students to benefit enormously from their university education.
And you said the scholarships offered by some of the private institutions are, you use the term negligible.
Yeah.
Is it that it's not good enough?
It's small. It's small, and I say negligible because private investees, unlike their public investees, do not get any funding from the state. Therefore, they are mainly funded by enrollment. So depending on how many students are enrolled, it determines how much money is available for the running of the investee. And looking at, Ghana now, we have over 50 private investees. How many students get into those investees? How much do they pay in terms of fees? That tells you that the investees are not able to give huge scholarships. That's why I say it's negligible.
Now let's look at the university education in general, from where it started to where we are now. The standards, has there been any change in any way from what we know?
Yes, let's say that there is access. So more people are able to access university education now than it used to be. So that we can call that a change. But as much as there is access, we now have to look at the quality. And the quality means that, are they doing the things that they're supposed to do in order to attract that quality that is expected? So that while there's more access, the quality becomes an issue. You see, so yes, there is a change. There is a change.
Is it the increase in accessibility that affects the quality of education? Or what is it?
I think it comes back to funding. It comes back to funding. And it comes back to funding because you need more lecturers. You need to pay them good rates. You need to expand facilities. You need to look at student-lecturer ratio. Okay, you need to look at the syllabus, the content, the relevance of the courses that are being offered, and that gives you a view of the quality that I'm talking about and how they are matched. We have to look at the ratios. You have to look at the ratios. Yes.
Okay, and we've had, certainly we've all witnessed labor unrests, in our universities even, but they have certainly courses, and they make reference to how much is in it for them, what they are getting, their benefits, and so on and so forth, but it can be attributed to low perception of employees' value proposition. Perception.
Yes, yes, and to say, universities' employee unrest has mainly been with the public universities, so they do not happen with the private universities. I'm yet to see that emerging. Yes, with the public universities where there is labor unrest, the TEU on strike, the etc. on research funding, on paid allowances, etc. They are all due to employee value proposition, because they feel, and the perception is that they are not given value for the services that they put in. Okay, so that if managers of universities can step up on employee value proposition, then the unrest should be put behind us. And we have to be careful, and again a caution to the private investors, so that as this increasing awareness of low perception for private university employee value, then gradually you see that the unrest will begin to cripple in. And if that happens, it's going to be a very bad thing for our university education. So that even though it's happening at the public, the private has to be careful in the
1 megahertz. It's 12 past 9.